Hey guys, TheRick here, and today we have a very special guest. He is Brian of dahlyvh, an awesome channel. Alright Brian, really glad to finally have you on the show.
Hey Rick, glad to be here. I've been watching this series since you started it, and it's an honor to be on it, and thanks for having me.
So my first question, everyone gets this, how long have you been in the hobby, and what do you love most about it?
So I've been in the hobby now for about 25 years. I got started when I went away to college back, I'm going to age myself here now, but back in 1989. And, you know, on my dorm floor there was a few different people that had fish tanks, and kind of thought it was cool. I had never had a fish tank, never had any friends that had fish tanks, no one in my family had fish tanks. And I thought it was kind of a cool little thing to put in my dorm room, so I went ahead and got it was like a 10-gallon, and filled it with neon tetras and a couple other things, and scaped it all up with what I thought was cool, and kind of took off from there. And then the second year, a guy on my dorm floor brought in what I thought was a huge tank at the time, and he had an Oscar in it, and I thought that was just the coolest thing ever. So I got into Oscars, started getting a little bit bigger tanks that would fit in dorm rooms, nothing real big, but tried out Oscars, had a Piranha or two over the years. And then, you know, ever since college, I've always had a tank in my house, no matter where I lived, if I rented, owned my own place, whatever, I've always had a tank. And then about 5 years ago or so, right after my wife and I got married, it really started to take off for me. We had bought in a house together and moved into it, and I had my 155-gallon from before we got married, and then another like a 20 or 30-gallon, and that was it. And setting up that 55 in my like entertainment room, I just started wanting to go bigger, and so I did, and slowly expanded, and you know, here we are now, fast forward 25 years later, and I've got a couple tanks right here in my office, tank in my entertainment room, bunch of tanks in my basement. I think my total now is, if I count right, 14, and I got a couple more to have soon. So that's kind of how long I've been in it, and kind of my quick story in a nutshell. What I love most about it, it's a few different things, I guess. It's cool it's kind of a challenge to get a new type of fish that you've never kept before and keep it. It's fun to watch fish grow because of the good conditions and good care, good husbandry that you're providing to them. And more recently, it's fun to watch fish breed too. I've had a little bit of breeding going on, so things like that are what I love most about the hobby.
Now what are some tips you would give guys who want to get into this hobby?
A couple of tips that I would give to people that want to get into the hobby. I think the most important thing is patience. We've all been there, whether it's when we started or even after you've been in it for a while. You get something in your head that you want a new kind of fish, or you want to set up a new tank, and you're excited to do it, and sometimes you're not patient. But you know, we're talking basic biology with these and ecosystems that these tanks are. So you've got to let nature kind of take its course when you set up a tank, or when you add a new plant, or add a new fish, or you're watching fish grow. You've just got to be patient. And you've got to be patient too when you have problems. Sometimes there's not always a quick fix. Certain medications take time. If you've got an algae problem in a planted tank like this one, sometimes it's time, and then the care that you take. It's not going to just go away overnight. So patience is a big one. Another tip I would give would be, you know, do your research before you go and get, you know, a certain type of fish, or a certain type of plant, or whatever. You need to know what fish will work good together. You need to know what size tank a fish is going to do well in, and you also need to plan ahead. you know, so many people, they get a fish that is eventually going to need, you know, a 300-gallon aquarium, and yeah, sure, it'll do fine in a 75 for the first year or whatever, but eventually it's going to be in that big tank. So if you can afford it at the time, plan ahead and get the big tank to start with. That way you're not buying a tank, spending your money on that, and then a year later or a few months later you're having to replace that tank with a new one to suit your fish. So those would be some of the tips I would give people.
Now you have some amazing and beautiful discus. In your opinion, are they harder to keep than other fish?
Yeah, the discus, I've been keeping discus now. I've got 2 discus tanks. Obviously I'm in front of one of them for just over a year, maybe like a year and a half. I'm not quite sure, but as far as them being harder to care for, I don't know. I mean, I guess probably I'd say yes, but not that much harder. There's a lot of myths out there about discus that you've got to have this, you got to have that, and you know, modern day discus, you know, we're not talking wild caught here. We're talking, you know, tank bred fish that, you know, have never been in the wild. They can adjust to a lot of water conditions. You know, the pet stores in my area that sell discus, they keep them in tap water. So I use RO water, but I didn't always use RO water. But you just have to know about the species. You just need to know what type of water parameters they do well in, what type of temperature, and that type of thing. And you know, I would say that they're probably a little more delicate than the average fish. So you got to watch them a little bit more closely as far as, you know, when they develop a disease or have a wound or something like that. But I don't know, I'd never kept them before, and a year ago I kind of got started with them, and you know, I've had success pretty much out of the gate. Yeah, I've lost a few here and there, but it's definitely doable. You just got to have the right conditions and again, patience. They are a fish. I mean, there's a pecking order, just like with African cichlids. You know, they'll peck at each other. There's you know, kind of like a tank boss in most discus tanks, and you just got to watch out for problems. You got to be able to quarantine them when you bring new fish into the tank, I would say. But yeah, they're not too terribly difficult. There's no special. I mean, I run a UV sterilizer and canister filters, but other than that, there's nothing special that you need, you know, like you would if you were setting up like a marine tank or something like that. Anybody who's got a little bit of experience, I wouldn't say they're a beginner fish by any means, but you know, the intermediate level, I would say if you're looking to try discus, go for it. They're a great fish to keep. You'd be surprised at the personality that these things have. They're a cichlid. I mean, they're like you know, most South American cichlids. They've got personality. They get to know you, and you can see it all the time. So they're very fun to keep, and I would highly recommend it to anybody that is thinking about it.
Now you really have gotten the hang of planted tanks. What are some tips you would give guys who want to get into the planted tanks?
Yeah, I've kind of gotten the hang of planted tanks. I've been doing planted tanks now for, well, the same amount of time that I've been keeping discus, so about a year and a half. And I started kind of with just low-tech setups, and now I've expanded. Both my discus tanks are more of a high-tech, you know, setup with the lighting and the CO2 and that type of thing. So, you know, I didn't know anything about plants. I just started taking other people's advice on YouTube, watching videos, you know, getting with a few people that helped me out, and just doing the research. Just like with anything else in the hobby, I would say patience and do your research are 2 of the tips I would give anybody to start with planted tanks. And I would also say buy the right equipment from the get-go. For me, I bought some cheaper, inexpensive equipment, maybe not so good equipment, and then you just end up replacing it. So what I would do is invest your money in a good light if you're looking to go with a high light planted tank. And I would invest the money in a good CO2 regulator, and you know, if you've got a tank of any size, I would recommend just going with your regular type of CO2 setup versus a paintball. Paintballs are great. I run them on one of my tanks down in the basement, but If you've got a tank of any size, you're probably going to want to go, with a regular style CO2, where you can get, a 5, 10, 15, 20 gallon tank or whatever it is. So, but I think it's important to make sure you're getting the right equipment as far as lights and your CO2 products and stuff like that. Substrate's important, obviously. Fertilizers are important. Knowing your photo period, as far as for those that aren't into planted tanks, how long, the period that your lights are on and period that your lights are off every day. So those are some of the tips I would give people. But again, it involves patience and it involves research, and you're going to fail. Not everyone can keep every type of plant. I've had good luck with what you see behind me, but I've tried tons of plants that didn't work out so well, and that's why they're not in the tank. I guess that's what I can say about advice for planted tanks.
Now I'm wondering, has your wife shown any interest in your hobby?
My wife, she has shown more interest in the last year or so than she has in the past, but no, she's not interested in the hobby at all, other than she does enjoy seeing some of the fish that I keep. Anything that's, nice and colorful and stuff like that, she loves. She loves watching the discus. She likes to, give them names and things like that. She loves looking at the African cichlids, so yeah, she's interested as far as that aspect goes, but she's not interested at all in doing any type of maintenance, helping out with that. It's pretty tricky. She gets worried, like if I'm going to go out of town for a weekend, she gets pretty worried, even just with feeding them, that something's not going to go right. So, but she has come to understand that it's something that I really like, and it's my hobby, and it's something I'm very passionate about. So she's becoming very supportive about it.
Can you please tell me what Team Aquatic Support is and what you guys do?
Yeah, so what Team Aquatic Support is it's a group of hobbyists. We are all sponsored by Aquatic Support Systems. Aquatic Support Systems is a company that is owned by Mike Mann and Conway Stevens. Basically what they do is they are a retailer, an online retailer that sells different types of supplies for the hobby. With Team Aquatic Support, like I say, we're a group of hobbyists that have all come together, and we help each other out within the hobby, but most importantly we try to help others out there through contact in forums, things like that, Facebook groups where people can come to us with questions. We've got, between all of the members, we've got somebody with experience in every aspect of fish keeping, whether it be cichlids, African cichlids, marine, planted tanks, what have you. Just a bunch of really knowledgeable hobbyists, and that want to make the hobby better, and at the same time want to be able to help people out there. So it's a great group of people that I'm honored to be a part of, and yeah, if anybody ever needs any type of advice or help or anything like that within the hobby, contact one of us and we'd be glad to help you.
And finally, do you have any plans, projects, or series coming to your channel in the near future?
So yeah, plans coming up. I've got a few things in the works as far as what I want to do next, as far as, in my fish room. If you guys have been watching my videos, you know that in my basement I just added a bunch of tanks and kind of expanded that fish room. Plans are down there to hopefully get some pairing off of some of the New World cichlids and getting them to breed. Plan on adding probably 2 or 3 more, 4-foot tanks, 75 gallons, something like that. And then I'm going to add a few more smaller tanks and try to do some shrimp breeding down there too, just to see if I can do that. I've had a little success breeding some red cherry shrimp, but I'd like to try to breed some different species as well, just to see if I can do that. So that's kind of plans for the fish room. At some point too, I would like to add a reef tank. I've been saying that for a couple of years now, and things just always get sidetracked or go a different direction, whatever. So haven't done that yet, but I'd like to try a reef tank at some point. As far as series go, I've got a few things in the works. I'm going to continue working on my You Oughta Know series. That's gotten pretty good reception. If you haven't checked that out, go to my channel and check out the You Oughta Know. Basically what that is, for those that don't know, is it's a almost weekly series that I do where I introduce somebody who I think you ought to know on YouTube. Another fish keeper that maybe new to YouTube, maybe new to the hobby, maybe both. Maybe somebody that just doesn't have a lot of subscribers but has a lot of great content. So it's just kind of a way to get the word out there about channels that maybe aren't quite so big as some of the heavy hitters out there. So I'm going to continue that. Right now I'm in the middle of doing Viewer's Choice season, I guess you call it. Got a lot of requests in from people that would like to see different channels featured, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. That should go for several weeks. I've got another series, or it may not be so much of a series, but I guess we'll call it a series that I'm working on right now. I don't really want to talk much about it because I just kind of don't have it all planned out the way I want to yet, and but I'm looking forward to it. I think it's something that's going to be really cool and people are going to really enjoy and that type of thing. So that's about all I can say about that. And finally, I've got a new kind of mini series that I'll be doing here in the near future, and that's basically going to be kind of a, I think it's going to be called Meet Team Aquatic Support, and it's just going to be kind of like what you do, Rick, kind of a deal where we highlight each of the members of Team Aquatic Support and the fish they keep and that type of thing. So I'm looking forward to that too. I'll be able to get you guys some more information on that when it gets closer to be coming out. And it'll be a good way for you guys to get to know some of the other hobbyists that I'm involved with Team Aquatic Support.
Alright, Brian, really do appreciate you taking the time to do this video with me.
Yeah, Rick, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun to do this, and look forward to seeing some of your future guests, and keep the series going. I think a lot of people really like it, and yeah, thanks for watching.
Alright guys, that's been another one-on-one with the Rick. If you have a suggestion for another one-on-one, please leave it in the comments below. And as always, rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.